Yeah. Okay, we are live now. So we will just, as usual, give it a couple of minutes for people to join in.
We live then. Yeah.
Yeah, we are. We're just waiting for people
Good.
to join in. So
Hello, everybody. If there is
good
anybody there.
If there is anybody there, please let us know in the comments. As always, we love to see where you're from, what you're doing, what the weather is like, what your dogs' names are.
Yeah.
By the way, this is Shar. He's just back from a smiling leash walk, so hopefully he'll be sleeping.
He's a regular on our talks.
Yeah, I think he likes the attention, honestly. We are here with Marina. Hi, Marina. And
Hi, Ina.
hello. We're going
My
to
name is
introduce Marina properly in a little while. We'll just wait for some more people to join us. While this is happening, Luba, your storm announcement, maybe.
Yes, all right.
So
So
they know.
as we like talking about the weather in the beginning of the live, so I have to inform you that we have a lot of storms recently, and electricity goes out every now and then. So if you just see everything blackout, know that it's our storm's fault. So sorry in advance. I hope it doesn't happen, but it may. So just warning.
In that case, we'll try to be back as soon as we can.
Yeah.
Hello, Mimi from Holland.
Hi, Mimi.
Is it cold? It's cold in Holland. It's cold in Slovenia as well.
It's pretty cold here.
Hmm?
Not here. It's very
Oh.
warm.
Oh, here it's about
25,
17 degrees.
Hi, Christina.
Hi, Christina.
Hello.
Oh, I'm so happy it's colder now because it was literally a month of non-stop hot weather. I'm so sad.
It was really hot, wasn't it? All of Eastern Europe was really hot.
Yeah.
But did you have any fires?
Yeah, we had here in the mountains. We had some fires, and but thankfully not close to us.
Hello, Alenka from Slovenia. Yay, Slovenia
Hello.
is watching. That's great.
Always. Okay. Do you want to start?
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's go for it. Yeah.
So, hello, Romania. Very close neighbors. Hi. Okay, so we'll start our live today. We have Marina as our dear guest, but first we'll say a few words about the Smile English project. It's a project dedicated to changing our perception of a walk with a dog. We want to show the world a way of walking that is good for both dogs and humans. On our Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, and also on our website, you'll find photos and videos of people having relaxing walks with their dogs on a long, loose, smiling leash. You will also find useful tips and interesting facts about dogs. So I'll actually put our website as a banner right here for you to go and check out. We have a lot of information there, so we invite you to take a look. And now to our guest. So we are very happy to have Marina here with us this morning. Marina's been living in London and working in city for many years, but now she is based in Brussels, Belgium. Throughout her life, Marina has been lucky enough to have had many dogs, and they have always been and continue today to teach her. After Marina retired, she decided to dedicate more time to her passion and completed the International Dog Trainers Education with Turi Trugas in 2013. Marina has currently 4 dogs she's living with. Marina enjoys spreading the word about animals.
Yeah, I do love you, but I have to.
So sweet. They're right here. So Marina enjoys spreading the word about animals and helping people better understand their dogs. She does this through consultations, classes, and webinars. Marina is joined by 2 colleagues who completed their education with Turin in 2016. And I'll put Marina's website if you're based near Brussels or you just want more information. please visit Marina's website. And we are happy to see more people joining in.
Yeah.
So good morning,
Got quite a few
everyone.
people.
All right. So Marina, thank you once again for joining. We are happy to see your dog too. What's his
Pleasure.
name?
There's two already on the bed, and this one, there's not really room for her, so it's always a bit
Right.
complicated. As she likes to come and join in, but others have got there, so I'm not sure we're going to be able to invite you up. No, we're not.
And
That's fine.
it's very nice. We'll be talking about partnership with our dog. So it was exactly our first question. What do you understand by partnership? What does it mean to you?
Thank you for the introduction. Thank you for inviting me. And I second the Smiling Leash website. It's absolutely brilliant. There's some lovely articles which I highly recommend everybody read.
Thank you.
Partnership. Well, partnership is all about being friends, is understanding each other, is based on love and trust and mutual respect. This young lady who you see here will be 2 years with me in September. I wrote an article in the PDT, one of the PDT newsletters about her. She was a very anxious girl. She came from a working kennel. And partnership is about understanding each other, is about, certainly in terms of the human, putting their ego in their pocket or even throwing it away. Because we all have egos, and I'm far from perfect and my dogs are far from perfect. And the ego does reappear very regularly. But it is about putting it in the pocket and sort of saying, well, actually, I'm going to listen to what you're saying to me, and I'm going to, as much as I possibly can, ensure that we have a good relationship and that we understand what we're saying to each other. Again, because we're human, we tend to think that everybody speaks our language. And we do that, especially when we speak English, because we think everybody speaks English. And if people don't speak English, what do? We speak louder and explain that this is the way it happens. It doesn't mean that the person is going to understand us. And we don't necessarily try and understand them. And unfortunately, that's what happens with our dogs as well. We think that they have to understand us, but are we prepared to spend the time observing and making sure? Hold on. We've got a little head that's appeared on my laptop. Sorry about that.
No problem.
That's how it is.
Yeah, that's how it is. I don't know how to get rid of that. There we go. I'll have to move it here so that the laptop stays more or less free from a head that's going to push a button. So it is all about observing and understanding. And then you can build on that relationship, on that love, on that trust. And it goes both ways. They need to trust us. We need to trust them. And obviously, trust is also ensuring that that trust is given at the right moment. If I talk about C, who just lay back down next to me again, who came 2 years ago, came from a working kennel. We have no idea. We just know that there was aversives used. She still will not have a harness put on her, and it's 2 years down the line. She goes into complete freeze, even if it's to go out and do a treat search. She just cannot possibly have the harness on her, which is an issue because that means that we have never been for a walk together. It means that we have only gone out the front door where she can, and I'm very lucky, I live at the edge of a village just outside Brussels, and there's very little traffic. So as long as the front door is open and she has the ability to come back in, she'll go out and do a mini sniffari for maybe 1 or 2 minutes, maybe jump into the back of the car, and that's it. So no walks with her yet. I am sure that there will be a day that it will happen, and maybe it won't, because I can't take her in the car for the moment because she won't have the boot closed yet. So again, I listen to what she says, and slowly but surely we build on it. When she arrived 2 years ago, the whole world was a disaster. She was in constant flight mode. as you can see, that's no longer the case. She feels comfortable at home, secure. She loves to do her treat searches in the garden. But it's all about building this relationship. The partnership, it takes two to tango. And that's what a partnership is all about. I hope that answered your question. I could go on.
Yeah, and
It's lovely.
and I think her story is perfect for our next question, which is, why is the partnership more important than the walk? Because you haven't been for walks with her.
No, exactly. And it is exactly that. It's observing, and not only her, but other dogs as well. Some years ago, I had a dog sitter, and Mateus adored the dogs and was lovely and kind and would sit on the ground with them and rough and tumble if they wanted that, or just cuddle or whatever, and would take them for their walks as and when required. And one of the girls, who's 13 now, but she was probably about 5 or 6, decided one day that she no longer wanted to go for a walk with him. And that was really bizarre, because I couldn't work out quite why this was. And I'd been making comments to him about his body language. As you know, dogs are very aware of our own body language, not only their own, because that's how their main communication is, through calming signals and therefore their own body, but they're therefore constantly observing us. And one of the things that we humans tend to do is bend over dogs, and especially little poor puppies and small dogs tend to be bent over constantly. But I was saying to him, please don't bend over the dogs, please don't bend over the dogs. Anyway, one day Jaime just said, I'm no longer going out. Why? We talked about trust earlier on. If the dog is saying, I don't want you to bend over me, and is giving calming signals and is saying, please don't do this, and the human is not seeing it, not responding, or ignoring it, the dog's going to say, well, I don't trust you. If I don't trust you in the house, sorry, my laptop nearly flew off. If I don't trust you in the house, how can I trust you outside? There's no partnership. You're not listening to me. I'm saying things. So she refused to go out with him. The other dogs were not bothered and continued going out with him, because every dog is different. Every moment is different. We're different. You know, you might be affected by somebody coming up to you and saying, hello, nice to meet you. And somebody else might say, please stay away. I can't stand somebody so close. And that may also depend on the person who's doing it. It may depend on the moment it's happening. Anyway, in this case, she didn't. So we started rebuilding the relationship in the home. And when she was able to trust him again in the home, and he was listening and not bending over and so on and so forth, guess what? They started going out for lovely walks again. So partnership, and the partnership is, oh, sorry, we might have a little issue again. I'm going to have to, there we go. Partnership is all about listening, is all about seeing, is all about making sure that it is ongoing. It's not, oh, I've created the partnership, it's fine. You know, my dog sits, lies, does everything that I've told him to do. That's not what partnership is about. Partnership is building and constantly building and making that relationship better. We do a lot of classes for reactive dogs. That's, apart from puppy classes, mainly, and man trailing, it's mainly reactive dogs that come to us. And even where there is a relationship, even where there is a mini partnership at the beginning, with what we do, we see this blossom, and we see the whole relationship just become this beautiful flower. But people must start this at home. Coming to classes and just doing what we suggest in classes isn't actually going to be the response, is not going to bring the result that they would like in this partnership, in this relationship. So the partnership is all important. And that is what will then create that relationship, that partnership when out on a walk. And I'm sure you're going to ask me about walks, so I'll shut up because otherwise I might be saying something that I shouldn't.
Yes, definitely. We are going to take the partnership on a walk since this is the Smiling Leash project. Before we do, maybe just so I mention, I'm sure that most of our viewers know about calming signals, but if there's someone watching that doesn't know much about calming signals yet, this is amazing. This is like the most important thing you can learn about dogs, I think. And it opens up a whole new world. So if you want to know more about calming signals, that's the body language of dogs, the way they communicate with the world. There is a wonderful little book called On Talking Terms with Dogs, Calming Signals by Ture Drugas, that you can read in one afternoon, and it can actually change your relationship with your dog. It's happened before. So this is just for people joining in that might not know about this yet. It's super important and it's really interesting. And now, as I said, yes, let's take this partnership on a walk. When we take walks with our dogs, things may be wonderful and everything may run smoothly, but sometimes we can run into some challenges. And when we do, let's look at a few examples of these challenges. And Marina, I'm going to ask you to give us a few ideas on how we can face these challenges in a partnership style. So in a way that is about trust and a good relationship and listening to our dog. So the first such example, and this is something that happens a lot to people, we are having a nice walk with our dog, and then our dog finds something on the ground and tries to eat it or eats it already. So what can we do in a good partnership style in this kind of situation?
Well, before maybe, obviously, those who have not visited your website may not know that we need to have decent ergonomic harness and long smiling leash. And that
Yes.
these, I mean, we tend to recommend 3 meters. Most of my dogs are walked on 10-meter leashes. Tax, who left us about 2 years ago, if he was walked on anything less than 10 meters, would actually pull on his lead. 10 meters was what he needed to be able to take in the environment that he lived in. He had also been a very anxious dog when he had joined us, and it had taken us many years for him to be able to rest and relax into going out on walks. So it starts in the home, and I'll come to your specific question in a second, but you also talked about calming signals and the importance of calming signals. Calming signals is a sine qua non for anybody who is going to join us in anything that we offer, because as you've just said, it's so very important and it changes the lives of the dogs that live with us. We may no longer have issues with the laptop because the little person has disappeared off the bed. So calming signals is the main dog language. It's using their body. And one of the reasons that we need to have our long leash is so that the dog can communicate with us, can tell us what is going on the walk, can tell us that he or she doesn't want to meet that person that's walking straight at them. Because as you'll see in the book, walking straight at a dog is highly impolite in dog language. So they will then be able to curve. If we've got them on a short leash, and I won't say looking at us yet, because that will come later, I probably imagine. If they're on a short leash and not able to communicate and curve and show us that actually, I'd just like to curve, or I'd like to cross the road, or I'd like to go in the bushes, or no, I'm actually happy to meet that person because they're turning their head away, they're giving us calming signals, they are being very polite. If we don't have that ability, if the dog cannot show us that, we are going to not be able to walk in a decent partnership. So it's very important, the equipment that we use. We've talked about love, we've talked about trust, and we've talked about mutual respect. Mutual respect works both ways. It's not just us saying, oh yeah, you can, do anything you want, jump all over me, be rude, take my spot. No, just like anything, I respect you, you respect me. If you are polite and you politely ask me, as C did here, I don't say her name because she's lying right next to me, and that would be overdoing a communication that I'm not about to have with her. So I refer to her as C. The dogs are referred to with their initials unless we're speaking to them.
Mhm.
So she asked me very politely before you actually saw her come up, may I come and give you a cuddle? May I do this? She didn't suddenly say, oh, I'm bouncing all over you. That's mutual respect. And that starts at home in the house, and we take it out in the road. To come to your question, I would suggest two things. The first thing is what Turid loves to teach us, which is the smacking sound, which is a neutral sound, which is, or, oops, sorry, I shouldn't have done that. That's one of them. Or you can do a little kissy sound, or you can do these things. It gets difficult when you do Zooms, isn't it? But even when you're live, sometimes it can be difficult. But so that's something, again, that you've taught the dog in advance. It's not something that you go out there and say, oh, I'm just going to use this neutral sound. We are being attacked. Again, the laptop might have its movements done. He's come back up. So it's something, again, that you teach the dog at home so that the dog knows, this is the neutral sound. It's not a recall. It's not something that means come to me straight away. It means look at me. I would like us to do something. And in this case, it could be look at me and we're changing directions. That is something that obviously means that you've seen that piece of bread or that dead bird or whatever it is that you would like the dog not to touch. Obviously, dogs are scavengers. Dogs eat loads of things that we might not necessarily think that we would like them to eat. If we look at the ethogram of the dog in the village dogs and so on and so forth, about a third of their intake of food is excrements. We think that's pretty disgusting, but that's what they eat. That's got loads of protein, whether it's human or animal excrements. So that's something that dogs will naturally be attracted to. So if we see dog excrements, and some dogs more than others, Tax was one of those dogs that was attracted to excrements, smacking sound, and we go change our body language. So we're showing the dog which direction we'd like to go, because what do? We tend to look at that thing we don't want the dog to touch. And therefore we're throwing the dog on that bit of chicken or that poo or that cat, whatever it is. So we've done the smacking sound, we change our body direction, and we can continue with a loose leash. Because again, if we've put tension on the leash, the dog is going to say, oh dear, there's something going on. I better do this very quickly. And this very quickly business, I'll bring something else in to the equation, which is not only the smacking sound, but if we teach our dogs, especially our puppies, very early on, the exchange, because what happens with our dogs, especially puppies, they grab something, quote unquote, that they're not allowed, like the television zapper or whatever it may be, or madam's favorite pair of shoes or something like that. And obviously the puppies run after. So they think, oh, have fun, wonderful. We're having a game here. And what does the puppy do? Starts chewing it. Or if it's something small, will actually try and swallow it very quickly. What have we done? We've taught the dog that I have something, I need to swallow it quickly, or I need to hide it, or I need to chew it. Whereas if we teach the dog very gently from day one, there's an exchange, please may I have that? More importantly, especially if it's something that the puppy can have, not only give him a treat, but then give him the object he had in his mouth back. So he thinks, wow, this is amazing. Not only do I get a treat, but I get the object that I wanted back. So when perchance one is out walking and there's something that we really don't want the dog to have, and he's already got it in his mouth, guess what? The dog will say, oh, I'm going to give it back, because not only am I going to get a treat, and in this case, we would like him not to take it back. So we might give him 2 or 3 treats. And if it's a dog at the beginning who has a tendency to do this, we make sure that the treats are not some boring little bit of something that is okay, well, I might have that little bit of kibble because that's what you're going to give me. No, we've made sure that we know what the dog likes. And again, we can look at what the dog likes and we can choose an array of treats. I like more or less. This I like a lot. And this is, wow, jackpot time. I can't not have that. And we decide what we take with us so that we can actually reward the dog for doing something, because we tend to be, don't do that, no, stop, pull on the lead, and all of those things that are just going to make life worse. And very sadly, that paw in hand partnership starts to do this as opposed to going like that. And that's because we're not speaking the dog's language. So really important to stay in this frame of mind. This is a two-way partnership, and sometimes we'll miss it, and sometimes the dog will eat something we don't like the dog to eat. Well, it happens, and they have the pH in the stomach to be able to do it, and most of the time nothing will happen. It's just we don't like it.
Yes.
And can I say something on the topic of because when you said like we tend to say no, don't do it, we tend to get very anxious. I think it teaches the dog that okay, things on the ground is something my guardian pays attention to, and so next time I'll pay more attention to it. I'll get more anxious about it, and it actually is counterproductive. So the calmer we are, the more the calmer the dog is, and we really need to keep it in mind, not only with food on the ground, but with all the other things in our life.
Which is a great segue, thank you, into the next example. And I'm the one that's going to be bringing out all the negative examples, but these are not all of the questions, I promise. In the similar vein to this first issue people may have on walks, of course, a lot of people also have dogs that tend to bark or lunge or both at, for example, other dogs, or at people they don't know, or at specific types of people, maybe people on bikes or children or whatever. So again, my question is, what is the partnership approach here if we have a dog that's barking and lunging during walks?
The simple answer is distance.
Mm-hmm.
That's the simple answer. The longer answer is, again, we need to look at why the dog is doing this. There is always a reason that the dog is doing whatever behavior the dog is doing. It is not because the dog is stubborn. It is not because the dog is angry with us. It is not to make us feel bad. It is not to show us up. It is not any of those things. The dog is telling us, for whatever reason, at this particular moment, with that particular object, person, bicycle, movement, whatever, I am not coping. It could be that we've actually taught the dog this behavior without being aware of it, in as much as we, having not read our dog, having not known that our dog was saying, please, I can't cope with that person or that bicycle or this human walking straight at me, whatever it may be. We have not seen that our dog is giving us calming signals. We have not seen that the dog has asked us to curve. We have not seen that he needs or she needs more distance. And we have, quote unquote, forced the dog in that situation. We forced him once, we forced him twice, we forced him 3 times. And at the end, it just becomes a reflex. Because what happens, especially if it's a fearful or an anxious dog, that is in the amygdala. And the amygdala is the reflex, is the memories. So that memory is there, and bam, before you even been able to realize that the dog is going to react, the dog is reacting. And unfortunately, the more this happens, the greater the issue becomes, because the pathways just gets retrod on. If you go into a field and it's just long grass and you walk the first time, it will hardly be noticed. You walk it a second, a third, a fourth, a fifth, a 10th. By the 100th time, the pathway, there's probably no grass. It's dirt because you've just walked it. The same thing with the dog's brain. And this will then become an issue of the further we are, rephrase, Marina. Let's say when we started, the dog was barking at a distance of 5 meters. And because we are not seeing it, because we're not realizing, this is happening now more and more and more. And the dog might even start doing it when it sees a dog come over the horizon. So what we need to do is go back to scratch and do what we call parallel walking, which means that every dog has his or her distance. And we give that dog that ability to have that distance. And that distance may change. So we go into situations, this is a class situation where we have, I had a Jack Russell many years ago that needed 300 meters to not overreact to a dog. And despite, I mean, I could hardly see him at 300 meters. And it was when Else and I were working together. She was with the Jack Russell and I was with Fig. And the Jack Russell was looking at us. He was not reacting, but he was looking at us. And that distance we were able to bring down slowly but surely. It took time. Every day is a different day. It doesn't mean that because we've got the distance back to, for argument's sake, say that this was a dog that started at 50 meters, 25 meters. The next time it might go back up to 30 meters, or it might come down to 10 meters, because we don't know what's happened in the house. We don't know what's happened during the week. You know, maybe this lady's had all her grandchildren's first birthdays or whatever it may be, and there's been kids running around the house, or they've had a thunderstorm and the dog reacts to thunderstorms. Whatever has happened may impact that dog. And that's also something to remember, that when we are in a partnership, it's not only this present moment that is going to impact, it is everything else that has occurred before. And we know that cortisol stays in the body, therefore the stress levels can stay high, and that what today was not going to affect, well, actually today that's going to have a reaction because I've had so much, my bucket is nearly full. So we need to make sure that we give that distance, that we do not put the dog in the position that he is in to be able to react, which means finding places where there are no other dogs or whatever the dog is reacting, so that we can put the time and the lessons in to be able to bring that distance down, start to have some social walks. It may be that that dog likes a particular dog, and we can do still some social walks with a particular dog so that he still has that sociability, because we know how important that is. Not only do they love us and like to be with us, they like to be with their friends, not every dog. And that's the other thing, is that, you know, we don't like everybody that we meet. Why should our dogs like everybody that they meet? And that again is something that happens all the time. Oh, come on, let's go and meet. Let's, in addition, not only it's come on, let's go and meet, but we stand there for minutes chatting to the human, and the dogs are, what are they doing? They probably just wanted to cross and carry on. So all of these things need to be looked at, need to be taken into consideration. That's what a partnership is. Are you happy with this? Are you prepared to do this? How can I help? And then respond, and making sure that we give those possibilities. And sometimes, excuse me, shit happens. Life happens. It happens. And yeah, it happens. Well,
particularly today, cows happened to this one. They were a bit too close. It happens. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
And I think it's also important to remember for people who have reactive dogs, and just if something upsetting happens, it's not a reflection of you. You know, your dog is a separate creature, and so many things affect the behavior, previous experience, how he's feeling today, health status. So I think exercising compassion to our dog and to ourselves is what partnership is about. It's, you know, it's thinking like why he's doing it, but also giving yourself ability to recover and understand that it's not your fault. You know, you can make things better for you and for your dog too.
You're absolutely right. And coming on to that, if you're not feeling well, you've got a headache or something like that, don't go for a walk.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
What's
for
the
sure.
point? You know, enjoy the walk. It's the walk is supposed to be something that we both enjoy, the dog and ourselves. And if we're feeling like crap, then we're not going to enjoy it. So
Yeah.
the dog's not going to enjoy it.
So true.
Yeah, one thing that's important to note that everything you've mentioned now about how to help a dog that is overreacting, in case our listeners didn't notice, there were no commands there. There were no cues. There was nothing trained in the sense that we are used to, because commands wouldn't really help. They don't change how the dog feels, at least not for the better. It's all about giving them the opportunity to process in a way that they can process, in understanding how they can process and make progress by themselves initially, just by us giving them these opportunities through parallel walks. By the way, parallel walks are described on our blog, if anyone's interested, and I'm sure that they're also described on your website, Marina. Or through other things that we
certainly
can
on
do.
your blog, and they're very well described. And it's really important to realize that
There are
the way
also
we do it is all about the dogs having the choice and being able to make the decision. It's not stuffing them with treats or look at me's or anything like that. It's allowing the dog to realize that he or she can build his or her confidence to be able to make that decision. Because sometimes that distance is great because the dog is going to do, oh, I'm just going to curve a bit. And that's absolutely fabulous when we see that in class and that we have brought this thing closer. And that might be a car, it might be a bicycle, might be a dog, might be a person, whatever it is. And the dog is curving. That means we are getting to the dog understanding that he can make the right decision. And that is so wonderful, because that means that in real life, when he's out there or she's out there, wow, as long as we read and we can allow the dog to do that, the dog will make that decision and will be able to therefore cope and cope better and better. Sorry, I interrupted.
No, you did not.
No, I was going to say that there are a couple of articles, I think, on reactive dogs on the website as well, that they're really worth reading, because they talk about everything that you've mentioned, I think.
Let's
great
do
resource.
another.
I send loads of people to the Smiling Leash website because your articles are
Thank
short, to the point, and give all the information that is required.
Well,
Thank
you. Maybe just one more example from this walking in partnership question. And I think it's really, really important. What do we do if we're walking with our dog? And it can be an adult dog, it can be an older dog, or it can be a puppy or young dog. And all of a sudden, our dog stops, or maybe even not just stops, but sits down and refuses to continue the walk. How to solve this in a partnership kind of way? And what does it mean?
Obviously, sitting down is a calming signal. Lying down is a calming signal. Slowing down is a calming signal. Stopping is a calming signal. So the dog is probably telling us, and this happens a lot with puppies, when people come to us, if they haven't started with us and they come a bit later on and they say, oh, we take our dog out for a walk and then the dog sits down and doesn't want to move. What do we do? Well, it's probably because your walk is too long. It's probably, and it might not even be because it's too long. It could be that your walk is too much information. There's too much sensory information, whether it's noise, smell, weather, whatever it may be. And the same can happen to old dogs, or old dogs, adult dogs, older dogs. That's the word I wanted to say. So the dog is obviously telling us, I don't like this. Now, it could be, I don't like this because he's heard a noise. It could be, I don't like this because it's been too long. It could be, I need to stop and I need to rest. Could be, I just want to look at the world go round and you're walking too fast. Because what do we do as humans? We walk, we walk, we walk, we walk, we walk. And that doesn't allow our dogs to do what comes naturally to them. explore, sniff, stop, watch the world go by, and all of those things. And the dog is probably just saying, had enough, need a rest. So, or the dog could be in pain. We may not have noticed, because animals and dogs are very good at hiding pain, unfortunately. We now know there was some research that came out in April 2020, done by Daniel Mills and colleagues, that 80% of dogs presenting with behavior issues to a vet were actually linked to pain. That is a horrific figure. And the vets did not recognize the pain. So if we don't observe, I mean, I would say that probably between 60 and 75% of dogs that we see, and I'm sure that Letty knows this from her work with myotherapy, but the dogs that we see in reactive dog classes, we send to the osteopath. We're very lucky. We have a lovely 2 veterinary osteopaths that live not too far from us that we can send dogs to, because there's a stiffness in the back end, or the neck isn't right, or whatever it may be. But people don't see it. 1, because the dog's always been like that, or 2, they don't notice, and the dog is really good at it. So you're out on a walk, you don't realize, maybe the dog has gone up and down some little steps and suddenly pulled a muscle, or just he's overtired. There could be pain. Whatever there is, we need to make sure that we answer the dog, and we wait. So sometimes the dog will say, okay, I'll carry on. If it's really bad, not that we advocate picking dogs up at all, and some are very heavy dogs, we might have to call the partner and say, please bring the car, because I can't possibly pick the dog up. We don't advocate picking dogs up, because it's not something that comes naturally to dogs if they don't have all 4 paws. And what do we do with puppies? We're picking them up. But if they don't have all 4 paws on the ground, it's really disagreeable for them. But sometimes needs must. And yes, that is a better solution. So it could be any number of things that the dog is saying to us. And obviously, we're not there when this happens. But if the human has been observing his or her dog and starts to have this partnership, starts to have this relationship, he or she will soon be able to tell whether it's, I want to watch the world go by, or actually, no, I'm in pain, or I just want to have a little rest. And therefore, we make sure that next time we either do less or we walk more slowly. Big issue walking slowly, because however much we say walk slowly, people still walk fast. Or what we find is that they'll walk slowly whilst we're in the class, and then we'll say, okay, it's been 10, 12 minutes, the dog's going back to the car now. And suddenly they're off, they're in goal, they're going back to the car. And we walk slowly. It's this mental thing that we have as humans, that we suddenly, we're doing something, we increase our speed. And I'm very aware that I'm speaking too much because we're running out of time. Sorry.
It's great. I think it's great.
Actually,
Sorry.
Can we take I just want to comment on the comment from Hannah. She just mentioned that it's widely accepted in the horse community that behavior problems mainly are symptoms of pain, but it's oddly not the same in the dog community, which is so true. And I think it's difficult for people to accept that their loved dog and companion is in pain. So we unconsciously push it away and don't want to accept it. And yeah, I think it's a big problem, but thankfully there is more and more information out there. And I want to point out the Canine Arthritis Management project, where you can, I'll put a banner. You can just find it here on Facebook. It's a very good project, a lot of information about how to recognize early signs of pain.
And they just brought out a little booklet.
Yeah.
They did.
A great little booklet on pain and dogs.
What Marina was saying about not noticing, I had this exact case this week with somebody that came with their dog, and the dog was dragging her back legs, and it was very obvious. You could hear it as she was walking. And I mentioned it to the lady, and she said, oh yeah, she's always walked like that. So we kind of like accept it. We don't question it. It's incredible. Yeah. Anyway, we're going to continue with the next question. And what about if you're on the walk and your dog goes off and starts investigating and searching and doing things on their own? Is this a sign that the partnership is weak? Do we need to do something about it?
Depends. You know, if your dog is the independent sort, it's fabulous. You know, do things on your own. You don't have to be hooked to me. Let's face it, if we're in a partnership, doesn't mean that we have to hang on to each other for dear life and never leave each other's side. Some people need that from time to time, other times not. So independence is fabulous. It means that the dog has actually grown into an adult dog to make his own decisions, to do certain things. And even if he goes off for a minute or two and goes off on a little trail hunt, as long as it's safe and secure and so on and so forth, that's absolutely wonderful. Comes back and tells you all about it. Terrific. If, on the other hand, and it will depend not only on the breed, it will depend on the personality, it will depend on the moment. Some moments are more important to be together than others. Sometimes we won't allow the dog to do it because we know that it's not a safe environment in which to do it. And obviously then maybe the dog is back on a lead or is just pootling around with us, or we might do a treat search if we think, oh, well, we're coming past some animals, because obviously being in a relationship and being mindful of our dog is also being mindful of nature around us. And allowing our dogs to go and chase other animals is not necessarily something that is terribly nice for the other animals. Thank you very much. A quick little chase happens. The other day, I have a broken leg for the last 6 months, so it's not the other day. Last summer, we're walking in the fields with N, who's the other one lying on the bed for the moment. And literally 1 meter in front of us, a young I've got a blank. Roebuck, a young roebuck, literally jumped out in front of us.
Mm-hmm. They like to do that.
They like to do that, as we know. Well, she chased. I mean, you know, there's nothing you can do. She chased. It was 1 meter in front of her. I waited until she was slowing down. I called her back and she came back and it was fine. Yes, there was a stress. If the young roe deer had stayed there, nothing would have happened. We would have pootled on past. But for him, it was just too much and he did it. It happens. As we said, life happens. But by and large, we try and avoid our dogs chasing other animals because it is not something that is good for the other animal. It's stressful. We also know that temperature, when our dogs are doing too much exercise, will go up in their body and they can't actually diminish that temperature. So that is not good either. So if the dog is pootling, if the dog is discovering a bit around him and doing what comes naturally to dogs, if we go back to the ethogram, if we look at Sindhor's treatise, I know they're not hers, but if we look at what she's done with the treatise and the research that she's done, they pootle, they investigate. They are part of a loose group that goes off and does things on their own. Sometimes they may be 2 of them, sometimes 3, sometimes they stay together. It's the same thing. If we've got a relationship that is built on trust and understanding and love, it's fabulous. And as I said, some dogs will do it more than others, at some moments more than others. Does that answer your question, Letty?
It does. I have 2 very different types of dogs. I have terriers, as you know, and sometimes they just go off doing their terrier things. You have to understand the dog that you have.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I also have very independent dog. She's livestock guarding dog, and it's very important for her to make decisions. And I understand that, and I know that if for some reason it happens that she's in pain today, and I have to have a bit shorter leash, a bit shorter walks where I cannot let her choose the walk. She gets very upset, and then she doesn't feel well, and it reflects on on her well-being, but also on our relationship. So for me, it's actually for our relationship, it's much beneficial if I let her do as many decisions as I can. And she appreciates that. And it's really amazing how our trust is growing, because I trust her to make more decisions, and then she trusts me. And it's really amazing. Like, we've been together now, she's been living with us for about 2 years, and every day, there is more and more trust, and it's really wonderful to see this develop. So
It is amazing and wonderful. And one of the things you mentioned is this choosing where to go on walk, because how many choices are dogs allowed to do? The only animal in the world who can't choose when to pee and poo is the dog. The only animal that gets told when to eat, what to eat, is the dog, our pet dog. So if we can afford to offer that choice to our dog of, where would you like to walk today? Would you like to go out for a walk now? Would you like to have a second walk? All of those things build on that wonderful partnership and on that relationship. So thank you for pointing that out.
yeah, I think they can feel it, that we trust them and we give them more choices, and it's really nice. And the next question that we wanted to ask you about is very popular command, "Look at me." So many trainers across the world, many people like to teach their dogs to look in their eyes, and some even for very long times. And it is said that this command kind of helps to build trust, helps to build the relationship between dogs and people. So what is your take on that? Do you agree with this?
The simple answer is no. The longer answer is there's also a great article that Turid wrote on it that I recommend to everybody, because I talk about this in my ethics talk. And it's counterproductive. It's not what a dog does naturally. Staring, looking fixedly in the eyes is actually rude in doggy language. It's threatening. It's even potentially aggressive. So doing all of those things is not something that a dog is necessarily going to want to do. I'm sure that Letty can give us a lot of information on why a dog should not have his head twisted up with his neck going this way. It's going to affect his neck, the rest of his back, probably the back legs, the front legs. I mean, I'm not going to go into anatomy. We've got somebody who knows it a heck of a lot better than I do. But the whole position is wrong. And it's not because we're going to give the dog a treat, because the dog has done it, that it's going to make it any good or feel any better. In addition to that, if you think about it, everything we talked about when we were talking about anxious reactions and so on and so forth, we're allowing our dogs to make the decision. Is that distance sufficient? I can cope. Yes, I can. Oh, no, I need to increase it. Here, we're forcing the dog to do this, not the dog. Any of you watchers, anybody, just walk next to somebody doing this. I can guarantee you, we do this in class sometimes. After 10 meters, you'll say, I have to stop, because you don't see where you're going. You're fearful of tumbling. You don't know what's going on around you, and you're getting a crick in the neck. So what is happening is the dog is feeling uncomfortable. It's unnatural because he's looking in the eyes. He doesn't know where he's going. His position is potentially going to be painful, and especially if it's any length of time. But in addition, he actually can't really see what's going on. Now, we know that dogs have got between 240 and 280 vision. We've got 180. They've got a much greater vision. So they can see something that's behind there. But even when they've got their eye up there, it's a bit difficult to see because there's the ground there and there's the sky there. So they're not really seeing what's going on behind there. So that's even more scary than if you can actually see what is happening. So I could go on for a lot longer, but in a nutshell, that's why no.
Yeah, and
So
your
I
dog
think
knows you're there. You don't need to, ask your dog to look. He
Absolutely.
knows you're there.
So
and it goes back to the beginning to what Marina was saying about ego. This is, look at me, the center of the universe, No,
Mhm.
just don't do it. Yeah.
sometimes it's about ego, but probably a lot of the times it's because the instructor told you that this is what you have to do. And I think
Sure.
it's important for the experts in the field to keep educating ourselves and to learn and to also change what we're doing. It's about the ego of the instructor sometimes
Yeah.
saying, okay, I was doing this for years, but now I learned something new and I'm changing how I work with dogs. And
The
Definitely.
day,
the
the
people
day we
going
stop
to
learning,
class,
sorry,
yeah, the people going to class are going to do what the instructor tells them usually, which is why it's important what kind of classes we go to with our dogs as well.
Yeah.
But yes, what you were saying, Marina, I'm
No,
sorry.
I was just going to say you're absolutely right. One of my dog sitters many years came in and was saying, "Oh, there's this poor Malinois on a choke chain, having to look and being zapped all the time." And I
Mhm,
said, it was a young Malinois, and I said, "Poor person." What do you mean, poor
mhm,
person? I said exactly what you said. This poor person, he's got a Malinois. He's gone to the club where he's been told you've got to show him who is the master, you've got to dominate, you've got to. And it's not the poor person doing it. It's awful for the dog, it's awful for the person, because their relationship is not going to build. It's not going to
mhm,
become a wonderful relationship that is going to expand, as you were just describing that you're having in the last 2 years with your dog, because it's the instructor who, for whatever reason, has always done it this way and is not prepared to learn. And the other thing
mhm,
I was going to say, I always say that if I'm when I am 6 foot under, I will no longer be learning. Until then, we learn every day. And
mhm,
our dogs are
Mm.
our best teachers. We look at them, they will constantly inform us, teach us. Oh, there's something new. Oh, there's something else happening. Oh, I hadn't noticed this before. And that observation becomes second nature. And that's also the partnership. When you're in a relationship with another human and you have this where somebody can finish the sentence that you've said or feel that what is going on in you,
mhm.
that happens. And the same thing happens with our dogs.
Mm.
Can I just jump in? There is a comment here from Hannah saying that sensitive dogs also tend not to look in the eyes with the look at me command. Yes, as we said before, because it's unnatural, threatening, potentially even aggressive for dogs to do that. She says that she does ask her dog to seek contact and ignore other stimuli and rewards the dog for looking to her face. Do you think, Marina, that this is needed, or are there better solutions available?
Well,
Generally, we can't comment on this particular dog, of course, because we don't
exactly.
know the dog, but generally, are there better solutions available?
Generally, we would suggest that you seek a PDT trainer who can do some parallel walking, and that is a much better solution than asking the dog to ignore a stimuli that it cannot necessarily really see and will not learn to be able to cope with, as we talked about a bit earlier on.
Mm-hmm.
Does that
So,
answer your question,
yeah,
Hannah?
I think it does, because again, this is about updating knowledge. As we were talking about, for example, this look at me command not being something that strengthens the partnership, it actually usually weakens it. Are there any other things that you would mention that are very common that people may think strengthen the bond, the partnership, but they actually do not? Just to quickly give people a few ideas to think about later.
Well, anything to do with training. Training does not necessarily strengthen a partnership. There are certain things, yes, that one can do, such as having a wonderful loose leash, smiling leash walk, watching the dog do what comes naturally to dogs, watching the world go by together, sniffing, not us sniffing necessarily, but watching our dogs sniff. Doing some lovely natural agility if one is lucky enough to have woodland with um, trees that have fallen over, that have rabbit holes that dogs can go under. Not asking the dog to do any of these things. one of our PDT colleagues, French colleagues, posted a lovely little mini video where she's running around an agility course, and it's a tiny little agility course, but she's jumping over things, she's going on boards, she's doing all of these things, and the dog is running by her side, doesn't go on a single object, doesn't do a single thing, and it's just such fun. It made me smile because that's exactly it. She's having a lovely time, the dog's having a lovely time, but the dog doesn't have to do any of the agility. This is just showing that some dogs would actually jump on and jump over. Again, it depends on the dog, it depends on the moment. So training is not something that we necessarily recommend. Certainly no sit, stand, lie down, and all of those things, go to your place. And even trick training, the actual training of the trick could potentially, maybe, do something for the relationship if the human is really happy, go lucky, it doesn't matter if it fails. The problem is that most of these times when it's trick training, the ego kicks in, and therefore one wants the dog to do it properly, and therefore it's no longer much fun. But once the trick has been learned, then there's nothing happening. It's pointless. It doesn't bring anything to the relationship. So doing things that are natural to the dog, such as potentially man trailing, and every single dog can do man trailing as long as there is no physical issue. And some might not like it, but most dogs actually really enjoy man trailing. You go out and you find something, you find an object, you find a person. It builds, it's a wonderful builder of relationship, because guess what? We have to trust the dog. The dog knows where the runner has gone. The dog knows where the trail is. We don't. And if we don't trust the dog and we think we can tell the dog, it's a wonderful equalizer, and it brings that relationship and that partnership into a new spectrum. And I had not planned on doing man trailing because it takes a lot of organizing, finding the place, the area, especially if they're reactive dogs. But two of my dogs in class couldn't progress further. The humans knew what to do, didn't need to come to class anymore for parallel walking. So we started doing some man trailing to continue to evolve that relationship. So those types of games, treat searches, and watching our dog doing a treat search, finding different places to do it. You can do it whilst out on a walk. You can go and hide something before you've gone on a walk. Or you can drop your glove inadvertently and ask your dog to go and find it. Those sort of things. And you're so pleased when your dog comes back and your dog is so, look what I found. I found your glove, you silly person. And that builds that relationship.
Yes.
Does that?
Yeah, that answered this question, and I think it also answered the next one as well, if you agree.
Yeah.
I think this was a wonderful talk, and
I loved it. I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
I
Thank
hope,
you, Marina.
I hope
enjoyed
it gave
it too.
people something to think about, and I'm sure it did. We have put a link to the article by Tor Drugas about eye contact in the comments here. Some of the things we talked about can be found on the Smiling Leash page or on Marina's page. So if anyone is interested, you can find out about things like calming signals, parallel walking, and so on. Thank you so very much, Marina. This was great. And we will say goodbye for now, but maybe we'll see each other again soon. I think we will, because the seminar season is coming up. So thanks and bye from me.
It was a
Thank
pleasure.
Thank you so much.
It was super informative.
And
Thank you.
very happy
Bye-bye.
to answer questions on the Facebook page if people want to put any questions there. Happy to do so.
That would be wonderful. Yes.
Oh, there is something. There was a comment coming through just on the last minute.
Maybe we can do this one in writing, I think, because it's
Okay.
quite a long question.
Somebody can answer in writing.
All right.
Okay.
Bye, everyone.
Bye,
Have a
everybody.
lovely
Enjoy your
Sunday.
Sunday. Bye.
And people, if you don't know, there is a wonderful live with Sindhor on her Barks page at 1:30 I can't remember if it's 1:30 my time or 1:30 UK time, but check it out.
That's the name of the school, Barks. That's right
Yeah.
spelling, I hope.
No, not exactly.
No.
The H is in the beginning of the word, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Again, that link can come into
We'll
the
put the
comments
link.
later.
Yeah, we'll put it
there.
later on.
Easier
Sorry.
anyway. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.